No one would have thought a Muslim woman in Iran simply trying to stay alive in an abusive marriage would one day lead 2 churches in Sweden, lead more than 1,000 former Muslims to Christ, and be invited to speak before the Queen of Sweden. As a young woman in a Muslim culture, Anahita Parsan was powerless and insignificant. Her only hope was that she might one day find a good husband, and she did. But he died suddenly in an accident, and she found herself trapped in a second marriage so violent she expected to die.
I didn't know anything. It was darkness. It was a very bad life.
Although she writes about the abuse in her book Stranger No More, Parsan doesn't like to talk about it.
It's not easy about speak about that.
You were beaten with a shovel.
Yes.
As a battered wife, living with bruises and cuts all over her body, Parsan eventually tried to kill herself with pills, but she was revived at a hospital. Anahita's daughter Roxana remembers when her dad threatened to slit her throat when she was just a small child.
I remember we had gotten cookies. My mom baked cookies. We got cookies. And then we went for another turn, like we wanted more cookies. Super normal. And we ran up and we're like, more cookies, more cookies. And he came up with a knife, put it to my throat, and he said, ask for cookies again. She was striving to just survive for us, just survive to make a better life for us. And maybe that was something God had implanted in her so that she would have something to hold on to.
Anahita Parsan's journey to Christ and across 2 continents is the stuff of Hollywood movies, and one that would include several brushes with death. Parsan, her husband, and 2 children fled Iran through the mountains to Turkey in 1984, where she and Roxana faced more brushes with death before landing in Turkey's notorious Agri prison. They would finally make it to Denmark, where she divorced her still abusive husband, and she heard the gospel for the first time. Then she moved to Sweden, where she and her 2 children would walk into a church and announce that we are Christians from now on. Anahita entered the ministry in 2012 and has led more than 1,500 Muslims to Christ. She not only leads 2 churches, but trains other churches on how to reach and disciple former Muslims like these, who fill her church each Sunday, hungry for the God who loves. Parsan believes this was foretold in Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 39. But in the latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord.
It is about Elam, and Elam is Persian. When I read that, I know it. It's about us. It's about our life. And it's amazing. God told Jeremiah that time, and it's happened just now.
But Muslim immigration has also made Sweden a home for dangerous radicals. And Parsan told us she's received death threats and lives with the knowledge she could be killed.
It's a free country, but it's dangerous too.
Were you saying that sometimes you wonder if it's your last day?
Sometimes.
As a young woman living what seemed like a hopeless existence in Iran, Anahita Parsan saw no plan and no purpose in her abusive marriage, only random violence. But God had a plan for her to one day be a leading pastor in Sweden.
I think God loved me, and He was in my life from the beginning. He's my everything. I think it's, wow, it's beautiful.
Dale Hurd, CBN News in Stockholm, Sweden.